Hi and welcome to the show. Well, this week footy fever hits Melbourne when one of Australia's greatest sporting events takes place. The AFL Grand Final right here at the MCG, which is also the home of the Australian Gallery of Sport, a fantastic museum and well worth a visit when you come to town. Also on tonight's show, Ross explains your purchase rights in regards to guarantees and warranties. We've got some good advice for duty-free shoppers. And naturopath Cherie de Haas has some fantastic herbal remedies for the relief of arthritis. But first, let's join Jim Brown off the coast of Western Australia.
You know, one of the great things about working on Healthy, Wealthy and Wise is travelling all over Australia. And I think this time we've found possibly one of this country's best kept secrets. This is Cockatoo Island in the Kimberley area in the far northwest of Australia. It's only about 400 kilometres from Indonesia actually, and it prides itself on being the least known island paradise in this country. We think that publicity is probably right. It is an island, it isn't well known, but believe me, it really is a paradise.
This is the Buccaneer Archipelago. Never heard of it before? Neither had I until I went there. It's a string of about 1,000 islands, almost all uninhabited, in the northern part of Western Australia, what they call the Kimberley country. Cockatoo Island is the closest thing to a solid chunk of iron ore rising out of the sea, and that's why BHP started mining the island in 1939. A village to house the miners and their families nestles in the island's hills, but it became a ghost town when the mine closed just over 4 years ago. Alan Bond bought the island and its facilities lock, stock and barrel with plans to make it a tourist resort, but his financial problems brought the project to a halt. Now Cockatoo Island has been picked up by another developer, and we were amazed by its potential. Peter Gleeson, the island's manager, showed us around the island's bungalows, now renovated to become self-contained holiday units.
Basically, every house, I guess, in the days when they were first built in 1939, when people first came onto the island, I guess the whole thing was set out to take advantage of the magnificent views and the surrounding 800 islands which form the Buccaneer Archipelago.
If you go to Cockatoo Island now, you'll have the place to yourself, a fully equipped hotel just waiting for customers. The resort swimming pool is a special feature. It's perched on a cliff.
Now, not only all the bungalows on Cockatoo Island have a unique view, so too does the swimming pool. Now, I know swimming pools are swimming pools, and some resorts might say their pool has a view, but this is a view.
And the view always changes around here because of the huge Kimberley tides that hide and reveal many islands as the waters rise and fall twice a day.
Today, I think we had a 5, 6, 7 metre tide, and we get up to 11.4, 11.5 metre tides, and that in itself is a unique attraction about Cockatoo Island.
Kim, this is an amazing sight, just watching the might of the tide.
We went out with Kim Keevil, who runs Buccaneer Sea Safaris, to a place known as the Whirlpool.
When you come to the Buccaneer Archipelago, you can see the awesome might of the tide in this area. The rock formation sends the sea into these rocky canyons, and it becomes a white water channel. And it's pretty exciting too.
We then went into more peaceful waters and came across a breathtaking sight. First, a humpbacked whale calf, followed within minutes by an anxious mother worried about her youngster so close to us, the noisy intruders.
And baby.
The land and seascape around the Buccaneer Archipelago is simply stunning. Ancient rock formations piercing the turquoise water. Kim Keevil not only offers day trips out of Cockatoo Island, he also runs week-long trips through this unspoilt area to islands few know exist and even fewer could find them. Little paradises to camp on overnight, with palm trees and freshwater springs and fishing galore off the rocks. We didn't have time for that, but trolling on the way home, we got more than a taste of what's in these unspoiled waters.
You got a gaff?
Fellow passenger Warren Allgood had most of the luck.
Good on you. What a beauty. From Valley.
But eventually, it was my turn.
Slow down. Slow down. Yeah, pull it in quick. Come in here.
One of Cockatoo Island's great spectacles is to watch the sun rise out of the Indian Ocean and light up the red cliffs, a sight worth raising a champagne glass to. Warren and Margaret Allgood began sailing their yacht around Australia from Melbourne 3 years ago, and they've seen more of Australia's coast than most. But in their opinion, this area is something special.
Some of the most dramatic scenery that you're likely to see anywhere on the Australian coast. It's absolutely beautiful. The place is virtually uninhabited. It's just so full of islands and beaches and beautiful places that you could spend probably 2 years in this area alone and not see it all.
Besides the natural wonders, this island's man-made history is also on display. Cockatoo Island has another unique attraction, and that's a museum, which is really the original power station which was built in 1939 to generate electricity for the mining operations. These generators are now silent. In fact, the whole building has an eerie silence to it. But because it was so expensive to move this equipment, it'll stay here forever. So Cockatoo Island is a unique tourist resort. It costs $145 a night to stay there, but that could soon change as airlines negotiate travel packages to the Kimberley. The island has its own airstrip, and you can fly in on charter aircraft like Aerial Enterprises, who operate out of Derby. The flight across is $300, but split, say, 4 ways, it's quite economical. For my part, I fell in love with the swimming pool and the view. At any time of the night or day, this is the ultimate escape from it all.
This is a debilitating disease that affects a great number of Australians. Soreness and swelling in the joints can become quite intolerable. There are ways, though, of relieving the pain, and naturopath Sharita Hayes can tell us all about it.
Well, Lynn, there's over 200 different types of arthritis, but the most common known ones are osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and the gouty arthritis.
And that's mainly in the males, is it?
Gout is mainly in the males. They called it the rich man's disease many years ago, but young men and older men are affected greatly by it.
Now, what actually is it? It's obviously soreness in the joints.
It's inflammation, actually, Lynn, most commonly in the toes and the foot area where men will get this gout. And if they're drivers or in a truck situation, it's very hard for them to even work because of the high level of pain.
And what can we do to relieve the pain?
Well, there's lots of things we can do, Lynn, and one that I find is most successful is oils and massage. And we have essential oils that can do this. Into this jar here, I've got an apricot kernel oil, to which I'm going to now add 10 drops of St John's wort oil, popping that straight in there.
Now, what does that one do?
That one is an anti-inflammatory, so it relieves and cools and soothes that inflamed area. This one here is rosemary, which has relaxing and therapeutic effects and also a cleansing effect on the body. And we've placed 10 drops in there of that one. And camphor, which is a good old standby to help relieve pain, and the old camphor bags that women used to put around their children's necks in early days. Mix that together, and to that 50 ml we have approximately 10 drops each of the essential oil, now ready for massage.
So we just massage these oils onto the affected area, do we? How often?
Well, with rheumatoid arthritis, which afflicts mainly children, Lynn, we would use it once a day to start with and then gradually increasing to twice a day. With osteoarthritis being mainly in our elderly, the wear and tear on the joints, we'd start with morning and night and then keep it warm once you've massaged the affected area.
And that's quite soothing, is it?
Oh, it's beautiful. It has properties. The camphor has that cooling effect. The St John's wort oil gives it a lovely anti-inflammatory property. And it just massages and soothes and breaks down all those troubled joint areas.
Now there's a hot pack here that relieves the pain too, does it?
Yes, you just boil this up for about 30 to 60 seconds and apply it to the area that is affected, Lynn, whether it be the shoulder, the hand, the knee, and then keep that area warm until this cools down again.
Now what do we do with these magnets here?
Well, magnets are wonderful for bringing relief to injured areas or painful areas. As you know, our blood is iron and magnets attract iron, so you apply the magnet to the area that may be inflamed or sore, Band-Aid over it, and it can bring relief very, very quickly.
Wow. Now diet's important too, isn't it?
Diet's
We've got some nice
vital.
healthy foods here.
Yes,
Are they
celery.
sort of ones that are appropriate for arthritic sufferers?
Well, some of them are. Oranges, for example, would be one that we would say, no, please avoid those. They're a sweet acid, where we would prefer you to have lemon and grapefruit and lime, which actually cleanses the body. Celery is a great diuretic, which means it's taking fluid out of your body, therefore the excess fluid of knees and joints. And, of course, your leafy greens are vital for your good health.
Thank you, Cherie. And if you'd like to know any more about arthritis, just contact your local doctor or naturopath.
Isn't this the most wonderful day? And what it also is footy finals time. And what do we do at footy finals? Apart from watch football, that is. We eat pies and pasties. But I've never been that keen on this commercial tomato sauce. So what I thought I'd whip up for you today is Huey's version of a tomato sauce. Still made with bottled and canned things that you can buy at any shop. Let's just have a look. What I've got here is a hot pan. Put a spoon of oil in it and a clove of garlic, which I've squeezed. Put as much or as little garlic as you like. Remember that. And then we will put on top of that, I'll put the vinegar in first, I think. A couple of spoons of vinegar, just a normal vinegar, which crackles. Tomato sauce, about 250 mils. That'll stop it crackling. So that's just a commercial, just a normal tomato sauce. A spoon of brown sugar. I'm just using a tablespoon there, about that. Remember to mix them in well. A teaspoon of Mexican chili powder. You can buy that anywhere, but you can use just normal chili powder. A teaspoon of just prepared mustard. That's a Dijon one, but any mustard, not English. That's a bit hot. That'll do. And accurately measured as ever, a tablespoon of this lovely Worcester sauce and some Tabasco. As much or as little Tabasco as you like. Now, this actually has nothing to do with football because this is a Texas sauce. It's actually a Texas butt kicker barbecue sauce. Now, you'll know when you taste it why it's called a butt kicker sauce. Just cook it for a couple of seconds like that, just to blend all the flavours in together. Just pour it in your bowl like that, with your frying pan in front of the camera, which gives such wonderful pictures. And there we have it. Now, after the break, I'll be back to create a highly untraditional pasty to go with this highly untraditional sauce. Those of you whose team didn't make the grand final, I'm going to whip up the perfect pasty to eat at home while you're jeering at the television. But I think I better take my hat and scarf off. It's a bit hot to cook with, so we'll just get rid of those. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at the ingredients. Now, what we have here, we've got some onion, which I'm just going to put in this pot with a little bit of oil. If you just want to follow me there. About a quarter of an onion, that is. Some very finely chopped garlic and some chilies. Now, I know the chilies, you don't have to put too many chilies, about a half a chili there. Obviously, the seed's out, so that's not going to be too hot. We'll just turn that up a little. Now, what I then have here is I have some potato and some turnip, chopped very finely. Turnip is a very traditional part of a Cornish pasty, and even though my one's a bit of a mess around, it's still, you should stick to a few of those things. And I've got some very lean lamb here, right, which I've just chopped up in small cubes. Now we'll just stir fry that around for a few seconds. See how we go. And then we'll get into the spice mixture. What I've got here is a little bit of cayenne, a little bit more of cayenne, some cumin, ground cumin, and some ground coriander, which I'll put there, just like that. Just keep stirring it. I also have some frozen peas, which I'm just going to put couple of spoonfuls of that. You could obviously use fresh peas if it was right in season, but a dish like this frozen are fine. And some fresh coriander and some parsley. Quite a bit of that. Throw it in like that. A little bit of water. And last but not least, I just happen to have a lemon tree behind me, so we'll put some lemon in. Just gives it a nice sharpness. Just like that. I'm having a wonderful time here. you can see where we're going there. Now, what you would do with that, you'd then cook that for about 10 minutes, 12 maybe, that's about all. But what I've done, because I've cheated, because in these pastries you actually have to put the mixture in cold, over here I've got a small amount that I have already made, which is cold. Now, what I'm going to do, the pastry here, you can use anything you like. This is actually a pizza, I can't even speak correctly, a pizza pastry. You could use puff pastry, anything like that, or the flat bread. Now, I'm just going to cut a circle out of that. I told you they're highly untraditional, they're very different. And we're just going to put a small amount of this, just mash it up a little bit, small amount of this mixture in the centre. All right, just like that. And put some water around the edge, just so that it seals properly. Now, you know, you can obviously make them larger if you like. Then just fold it over, just like that. Press it down fairly neatly. If you've got some coming out of the edges, don't worry. And then just with a fork, just neaten it up like that so that it will stay together. Now, what we're going to do with these, which is really strange, of course you can bake them in the oven if you like, but they actually work brilliantly done, they're deep fried. So I've just got some peanut oil there that I'm putting these ones, see I made these before. I've been really cheating today. So we'll just prop those in there and see how we go. Now that's fairly hot, that's about 185 degrees. And you can see, look at the colour they're getting already. Now you just keep on turning them over. And they are the fastest thing in the world, and they really will take a very little time. What I'll do while I'm doing that, I will just bring this bowl over here, and I will just put some of my wonderful sauce on the bottom of it. Just like that. Now, all you have to do, see, they're nearly ready. You have a look at those, see, look, very close. They take very little time. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to drain them really well. I should have a paper towel here, I've forgotten about that. Now, the only problem that you have here is that they are really hot. If you want to eat them, just be very careful. Now, all I'm going to do is put those on the plate with my wonderful barbecue sauce. And you must admit, you've never seen a pasty like that.
We're all consumers. Almost every day we're all out there buying something. Take David Wynett here. About 6 months ago, he bought his dream car, a Porsche. But as in many of these cases, things only started going wrong after he parted with his money. Well, we're going to have a look at the system whereby you can get some justice if something goes wrong with something nearby. We're going to show you exactly what procedures you can implement and also show you how to do it fairly cheaply and simply. As we'll see later, knowing just what those procedures were saved David's dream car from turning into a nightmare. So just what are we consumers entitled to when we make a purchase? Louise Sylvan from consumer magazine Choice explains. Now, whereabouts are we here?
These are the Choice laboratories where we do our testing.
Now, a lot of these goods here would have warranties or guarantees on them. What's the difference between that?
There's no difference between a warranty and a guarantee. It's actually the same thing. It's a promise that something will be fixed or your money will be refunded.
But there is a difference between other forms of warranties, aren't there? Implied warranties, express warranties. What's the difference there?
Well, an express warranty is the written warranty that a manufacturer or a service provider gives you. It says that they will pay for parts and labour and repair your wash machine or whatever for a period of time. Implied warranties are warranties that you have under the law whether or not you have a manufacturer's guarantee.
Does it matter very much whether I actually fill in the little form that I receive with, say, my washing machine or not?
No, it doesn't. The manufacturer has given a warranty in law. Whether you happen to fill out the form or not, it doesn't make any difference. You're still covered. It just helps to establish when you purchased the particular product and that you are, in fact, on their list so they can find you more easily.
Now, who decides, say, for instance, if it's for repair or replacement, whether I get my money back, whether I get something repaired, or whether I in fact get it replaced?
Well, if a good is defective and you are taking it back to the retailer or you're asking for the manufacturer to take it back, normally a retailer will give you a choice. It is in fact your choice in law if the good is defective. If something has gone wrong with it, normally it will be repaired.
In David Wynett's case, that meant repair, after repair, after repair. Well, what happened after you bought the Porsche?
I had a few minor problems with it. Just little cosmetic things, cigarette lighter, interior light. There was a rear main seal in the gearbox was leaking. I took it back to the dealer and he was quite happy to fix the car.
How many times did you end up having to take the car back?
The car went back a total of 23 times, Ross.
23 times?
Yes.
Now, most cars have got a warranty period of either 5,000 kilometres or 3 months. Was that 23 times in that period?
It was 23 times in that period. It was about 2 weeks short of the actual 3-month period.
This story has a happy ending. The trader who David was dealing with was actually pretty good and even fixed a couple of things, such as the interior light and a cigarette lighter, which weren't covered by the warranty. But a lot of people, of course, don't have such happy endings. And so what recourse do you have if you don't get customer satisfaction? The best advice is to put your complaint in writing. First, write to the management at the point of sale of the goods or service. Secondly, check to see if there's an association of members of the industry you're having trouble with and forward a complaint to them. If you're still not satisfied, contact Consumer Affairs in your state. Lastly, if all else fails, you may need to take your complaint to the Small Claims Tribunal or court in your state. I, Ross Greenwood, do solemnly, sincerely, truly declare that the evidence I shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And with that simple affirmation, you can get your case in the Small Claims Tribunal started. As you can see, it's a fairly low-key affair. The referee, or the judge if you like, sits up the front here in front of the parties involved, and between them they simply thrash it out. Now, as I say, it's fairly informal, there's no wigs and gowns, and there are certainly no lawyers. And the cost to have a case in the Small Claims Tribunal? It's just $10. After filling out a claim form, available from the tribunal or a magistrate's court, your case will be listed and heard, usually within 4 weeks, where you'll appear in front of a referee like Richard Wright. In terms of the Small Claims Tribunal, what sort of people actually come here?
Well, Ross, it's confined to what's called consumers and traders, so that mainly it's people who have a problem in relation to something they bought, some service, some product they bought from a retailer, some service they received from a repairer, some other service like that. So it's a wide cross-section of people in that area.
And is there any limit on the size of the transaction which can be brought to this court?
Well, we're constrained by a $5,000 jurisdictional limit, but that doesn't mean that you can only come here with a claim that's $5,000 or less. What it says is that if your claim is more than $5,000, you need to abandon that to come within the jurisdiction of the tribunals.
If I've actually got a complaint with a manufacturer or a retailer, at what point in my complaint should I actually consider the Small Claims Tribunal?
Well, it's really a matter of judgment by an individual consumer, that the consumer knows that at the small claims arena, service is reasonably quick, they can get on and they can get the matter solved. If they think the problem is completely intractable and they're not going to be able to fix it, it's probably easier to get in earlier rather than later. But then you'd say the general point in relation to these sorts of things is act sooner rather than later, and that means going to the trader, writing a letter, getting in touch with a Consumer Affairs department, going to a Small Claims Tribunal, do it quick rather than slow.
These days, as a result of increasing consumer pressure, you'll find the length of warranties is just extending all the time. In fact, you can even buy extended warranties yourself, and some credit card companies and retailers and most manufacturers will offer them. But just watch out if you're buying them, for they can cost between $50 and several $100s. And you've got to make certain that all the important components, including labour, are fully covered, because you'd hate to come and claim under a warranty and suddenly find it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Coming up next, we'll introduce you to Australia's cuddliest movie star. It's just part of the latest piece of movie magic from the creative mind of animator Yoram Gross. Just add cuddly creatures like Blinky Bill and his friends, and sets like this spring to life.
It's as easy as can be, just repeat it after me. 1 and 1 are 2, 1 and 1 are 2, 2 and 2 are 4, 2 and 2 are 4.
Yoram fled to Australia from war-torn Israel 25 years ago, bringing his wife Sandra and children here to the lucky country. With a huge language barrier and a 20-year background in live-action production, animation seemed a logical way to break into the Australian film industry.
Being in Europe, we have been making experimental films and sending them to festival just to show how clever we are. One of the festivals was Melbourne Film Festival, and we have been lucky. Some critics in Melbourne wrote about our films. They are very good. And he said in the newspaper that such a filmmakers we need here in Australia. I took it seriously. I was younger and naive. And here we are.
Just step into my pouch and I'll hop you down to the waterhole in no time. It's lovely in here. Thank you. And I feel as if I had my baby again.
Yoram and Sandra's first success came in 1978 when he animated one of his children's favourite books, the story of a little girl and her bush friends, Dot and the kangaroo.
That's the way we go. You can travel by boat, you can travel by train, you can walk if you like.
Dot, very sweet girl, friendship with kangaroo, very Australian. Why not? This was the best book that in those days we found. And therefore we chose Dot and the kangaroo. This will be the first one. Even in Chinese, she's talking today, in China, America, Germany, everywhere.
Sandra, how successful has Dot been around the world?
Well, successful enough for 83 countries to buy our films, to translate them to many languages, as Yoram say. And they are being distributed today in cinemas, on video, on television, really in all corners of the world.
Films such as The Little Convict Boy and Sarah followed. Sarah, starring Mia Farrow, told the story of a young girl surviving the horrors of war. The real-life messages come through loud and clear. Yoram knew a story would make a successful film when he sat on the edge of his children's bed, told them a tale, and no matter how late it was, they stayed awake to listen. His films are unique. Look at the clever combination of characters telling their story over a live background. Yoram's tribute to his adopted country.
Australian bush, where the kangaroo lives, is so beautiful. We didn't see any reason to make another drawings, which are better than the real bush.
This week, Australia's cuddliest koala makes his movie debut, when the latest Yoram Gross production, Blinky Bill, opens.
You know me, Mum. Always on my best behaviour.
Blinky Bill is, as they say, naughty boy. We like naughty boys very much. Has an incredible sense of humour, and he tricks everyone.
What would you know about teaching frogs to croak?
I've taught elephants to croak.
Elephants? Show me. Come on.
Come on, froggies. Watch this. It never fails.
Oh, what are you doing?
Blinky. 1, 2, 3.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
What's this?
It's just magic, isn't it? And believe it or not, to create the 30 seconds you just saw took over 4,000 drawings, or 2.5 months' work.
Careful!
2 years of hard labour, of drawing about 500,000 individual drawings, each of them drawn on paper, traced on a celluloid, then painted and shot individually under the camera. So that does take a long time, and many people. For Blinky Bill, for example, we had 70 people working over the 2 years to create the film.
What are you actually listening to when you're animating?
Oh, we're actually listening to the first episode of the soundtrack of the first episode. It's it'll let an animator know what how the character's gesturing or moving or talking, and that way you can get anger or sadness or happiness in the motion of what he's doing.
Oh, great. Now, what's this? This is a light box.
Yeah.
How does that help you?
Oh, this will reflect the light up, so you can see through the pages of every cell and key that you're doing. So
you keep flicking back and forward.
Yeah, you can actually see what the characters are doing as you're drawing, frame by frame.
Now, is Blinky Bill a character you can really
get into?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. He's a good character. He's a mischievous larrikin. He's the Australiana character, and you can really ham it up with a couple of scenes.
When it came to the music of Blinky Bill, Yoram turned to the family member he once tested his stories on, his son, Guy.
It's a complicated job. I'm required to bring all sorts of emotion to an otherwise emotionless film because just because a character has a frown on his face, you may not realise he's actually being sad. So it's left to me to make sure that the audience understand that it's a sad sequence.
So then you have to write sad music, do you?
Absolutely, yes. Sad music, happy, scary. All music for films has to tell the story, and so for Blinky Bill, there's so many little stories going on. When the baddies are around, for instance, you have to make sure that the audience
What does that sound like?
The baddies, I've got a little sound. I always use marimba. It's a wooden xylophone.
What sort of relationship do you have with your father? I mean, he's the boss in a sense.
Well, he's also the boss, that's right, but he's also my father, so there's that fine line. I generally work by night, so I'm in the recording studio all night, and he'll arrive in the morning, and I'll have to show him the sort of stuff that I've done. Hopefully, he'll say, great, love it, guy, it's wonderful, keep going. Occasionally, he'll say, not quite what I meant, and explain to me some more about the sequence, maybe stuff that I would not have got out of just the pictures, because at the end of the day, it's really Yoram's vision.
Now, you've got your lunch?
Yes.
Fruit?
Yes, Mum.
Oh, you're a good boy, Blinky.
Are you going to the camp? Yes, it is very damp. It's that time of the year.
And where do these fabulous voices come from? Meet the very colourful Robin Moore.
The camp, Granny. The camp. Oh,
Sorry, then I spat all over you then. You make it sound easy. How many voices did you have to learn for something like Blinky Bill?
I haven't. I've run out of counting now. I've done little frogs and little wriggly things and koalas and snakes and you name it, it's in there.
What's the hardest one?
Probably there's a frog in there that's very difficult, and you have to sort of get into frog mode with warts and all and go.
Ribbit, so she kind of talks like that, and she's Mrs. Spotty Frog, and she has lots of little baby frogs around.
And she speaks like that.
Now, boys, we all know that part of growing up is being able to gribbit correctly. So I want you to sing with me now. Nice, throaty, froggy gribbits.
Blinky Bill and his friends are sure to bring smiles to the faces of many Australians over the next few months before this lovable larrikin takes on the world later this year.
You can gribbit me and I'll gribbit you. Any old excuse will do on a beautiful day. What do you say? Gribbit. Gribbit. Yeah, gribbit. Gribbit. When you're dancing ballet, what do you say? Gribbit. Gribbit. Gribbit.